Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badharayanam Sutrabhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Mavid Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. Hari Om. Last class we saw a beautiful, complete, comprehensive description of Atma. Yeshontaratma Purusha Puranaha. Nirantarakhanda Sukhanubhutihi. Sada Ekarupaha Pratibodha Matraha. Yeneshita Vag Ashavas Charanti. This Atma is Antaratma, the innermost self. Purusha, all pervading. Purana, timeless. Nirantara Akhanda Sukhanubhutihi, of the nature of constant experience of infinite bliss. Sada Ekarupaha, always a one nature. Pratibodha Matraha, of the nature of consciousness. Vak Asavas, commanded by this Atma, Vak, speech, and other functions, all the senses, pranas, all of them function. So this is a complete description of Atma. Now, where is this Atma? So that's what we're going to look at today. Verse 132. अत्रैव सत्त्वात्मनिधि गुहायाम् अत्रैव सत्त्वात्मनिधि गुहायाम् अव्याकृताकाशवुषत्प्रकाशः अव्याकृताकाशवुषत्प्रकाशः आकाशवुच्चैरविवत् प्रकाशते आकाशवुच्चैरविवत् प्रकाशते स्वतेजसा विश्वमिदं प्रकाशयन् स्वतेजसा विश्वमिदं प्रकाशयन् अत्रैव सत्त्वात्मनिधि गुहायाम् अव्याकृताकाशवुषत्प्रकाशः आकाशवुच्चैरविवत् प्रकाशते स्वतेजसा विश्वमिदं प्रकाशयन्. Now this consciousness, even though it is all pervading, you cannot recognize it everywhere that easily. Can be recognized only in one place. In no other place, consciousness can be recognized. If it can be recognized anywhere, scientists will not still be struggling to catch hold of this consciousness. Science has made so much of progress, advancement, but they still are struggling to find this consciousness. You search for consciousness everywhere. Everywhere you go around, try to find it. You will see only matter. You will not see consciousness. If you analyze the brain, only brain matter will be there. Now, whatever it is, neurons, maybe cells, this and whatnot, whatever they talk about description. You don't find consciousness there. The more you probe into the human brain, or for that matter, the entire human body, you will come across varieties of matter. But you can never experience consciousness anywhere in it. For everyone, consciousness is available only in one place. And what is that? Your own mind. And that mind is something subtle. It is not a function of the brain. Therefore, I have to recognize consciousness in my mind. You have to recognize consciousness in your mind. I can never experience that consciousness in your body. Neither can you recognize that Atma in my body. I only infer that you are all conscious being. I don't see consciousness, but I can infer. You're all here, listening to me, responding to the talk. So all of you are alive, conscious. But I'm inferring that. I don't see consciousness per se. If there are two people, two bodies are there, let me say, two bodies are there. And one is a dead body and the other one, a live one. But let us say it's sleeping. Bodies, you cannot say which is live and which is dead. You throw some cold water on that body, The live one will respond, oh, I'm fast asleep. Why are you waking me up? The other one will say nothing. From that, you can infer that this body is alive. When you go to a doctor and say, uh, my stomach, I have a stomach ache. Okay. Stomach is covers a wide area in your midsection. And so the doctor doesn't know where exactly is the pain. He cannot recognize your stomach pain, your stomach ache. So he will do some exam. He will keep pressing different sections of the stomach. Does it hurt here? Does it hurt here? And then one spot when he presses, ouch! You cry out in pain. Okay, I got it. You have appendicitis. Let's take further look at it, do some diagnostic tests. This is how. Okay, looking at you, he cannot figure out, all these things. These are all, something subtle. You can infer by doing some exam how you react. Similarly, I cannot directly experience the consciousness in you. I can only infer. I can experience consciousness intimately in myself. That's being said beautifully in this shloka. Atma shines, is evident here itself. Okay. Atra eva, here itself. So when the teacher is using this word, he would be referring to the body or oneself. Here means the guhayam, or he may say this, intellect, etc. We point out here. The guhayam, in the cave of the mind or the heart. We say heart because in Vedanta, the location of the mind is said to be in the heart. Every sense organ, the description is the location of that sense organ is given, and this manas, the location is said to be the heart. And it is not not necessarily the physical heart. Sometimes they talk about as a physical heart itself. Sometimes in the middle. Anyway, the heart is the location for the mind. So dhihi means antakaranam or buddhi, mind, intellect. So the mind or the intellect, any word you can use, that is the location. Generally, the mind or the intellect is called a cave, guha in the Shastra. What do we call it a guha? The word guha, very commonly used for buddhi guha, cave of the intellect. The reason is a guha, a cave, whatever is in there, it's not readily seen. The cave is always dark. Quite often, light cannot even enter within the cave. Unless you take some light with you. There are some beautiful caverns in America. Some of you might have visited those. They are in India too. And when you go down, sometimes a few 100 feet, they go down. So out there, it's totally dark. Everything is hidden. Natural cave is dark within, and because of the darkness, whatever is inside is hidden, it's not seen. Actually, the very word guha comes from the root guh, Guhu means to hide. Guhyate asmin sarvam iti guha. That in which things always remain hidden, covered, unrecognizable. That is called guha. The mind is called guha because the chaitanyam is there in the mind and it is hidden for everyone. It is there, but in our ignorance, we don't recognize it. It is said in Katopanishad, tam durdarsham gudham anupravishtam guhahitam gahvareshtam puranam. Durdarsham, very difficult to see because it is hidden within that guha of the mind. In the ordinary guhas, darkness is there. In the human mind, in the human mental guha, what is there? The darkness of ignorance is there. The buddhi guha, there is darkness of ignorance. And because of that ignorance, the atma is hidden as it were. Therefore, buddhi guhayam atma prakashate. Atra there only, during that condition, in the cave of the intellect, this Atma Chaitanyam is evident very well. But we have to tap into it. If you do nothing about it, it will stay hidden. But it is where it shines. The word avyakrita akasha, in the space of the unmanifest. The karana sharira, it's a technical word here. In this context, karana sharira indicates a quiet mind. So don't take karana sharira as a causal body, gross body, subtle body, causal body. We're not referring to that. It's referring to a mind that is absolutely quiet. So in the buddhi, that is quiet, calm, tranquil, serene, as though asleep. A non-extrovert mind, in that mind, it is recognized. Why do we say that quiet, tranquil buddhi? The reason is, in a thoughtful mind, consciousness is there, and also in the mind filled with many thoughts. It is there. In a quiet mind or in an agitated mind, consciousness is there. But when the mind is agitated, distracted, disturbed, and all that, that consciousness cannot be recognized. Whereas, if the mind is quietened down, distractions will not be there. Therefore, it is easier to recognize that consciousness. Therefore, he says, avyakrita akasha. In a calm, quiet mind, and sattvatmani, a mind which is made up of sattva guna. So, sattvatmani dhi guhayam avyakrita akashe. In a mind that is sattvic, tranquil, quiet, atma prakashate. Atma is evident. It shines forth in such a quiet mind. That Atma is Ushat Prakasha, intensely bright. It is effulgent. And the effulgence of the Atma is not borrowed effulgence. Whereas the mind, the buddhi, it also becomes effulgent. It becomes sentient. Your mind is active. It is conscious, sentient, and everything. But how does it get that effulgence? it is reflected. We talked about it many, many times. The mind is an inert matter, but has sattva guna in it, so it has the ability to reflect. So in the presence of that consciousness, the mind has the ability to reflect that consciousness. Then it becomes alive. But that reflection can never be as bright as the original. Any reflection for that matter. It depends so much on the quality of the reflecting medium. The brightest. So this is reflecting that Atma Chaitanyam. But it can never be as bright and brilliant and effulgent as that Atma. So that is why you would have come across description of Atma as Jyotisham Jyoti, the light of all lights, the original light. There is also another significance. When the other thoughts are not there, when the mind is not filled with other thoughts, not necessarily bad thoughts or anything, maybe very noble thoughts, good thoughts. Regardless, when the mind is full of other thoughts, then that consciousness cannot be seen as that bright. Atma seems to be less evident. Somebody who is going about his daily life never thought anything about this Atma and all that. Living in this world as a worldly person. So his thought will always be about this world, doing things, so that Atma doesn't shine as bright for him. It's less evident. Whereas when distractions are not there, and that's why we practice all this, quietening the mind. Sadhana is all for quietening the mind. Chitta Shuddhi, Chitta Ekagrata, that is all for this only. When we say Chitta Shuddhi, purity of mind, again we are talking about reducing the number of thoughts. Not necessarily, we are not talking about, bad thoughts are there, that is an impure mind. The presence of thoughts, good, bad, or whatever, that is not ready for recognizing this Atma. That's what we mean. So that is why all Karma Yoga, we talk about Karma Yoga, Chittasya Shuddhaye Karma, for purity of the mind. And then we're studying Upasanas at length. That Upasana is for Chitta Ekagrata, focusing the mind. So focus means it's only one thought, and that is Atma Chintana. Other than that, there is no other thought. So in that quiet mind, Atma seems to be more evident. It's very simple. We can give a very simple example. Let us say it's a full moon evening, and say it's about 5 o'clock. The sun is still out there. It's a full moon, no doubt, but it will not be that bright. Because the sun's light is very bright. And so in that presence, the moon will not appear that bright. Then as the sun sets, as the night goes on, the moon will appear brighter and brighter. And at midnight, you cannot miss the moonlight. Even if you do not want to notice it, you will have to recognize it. Now, do you see the moonlight has become brighter between 5 p.m. and midnight? No. It has always been what it was, But earlier in the day, its brightness was overshadowed by the more powerful sunlight. Of course, the moonlight is also reflected light of the sun only, but that is not relevant in this example. The point is it gets overpowered by other things. Similarly, in a quiet mind, Atma is Ushat Prakasha, is intensely bright. He gives an example. Akashe Uchai Ravivat, just like the sun shines in the sky above. How bright and brilliant the sun is when there is not a cloud in the sky. Bright, brilliant. He says, Swatejasa idam vishvam prakashayan. Not only does it shine brightly by itself, it also illumines the entire world with its own light. So when we describe this, immediately those of you who've studied other Upanishads, and most of you have studied Kathopanishad, where this mantra you will immediately recognize. And it is also chanted during the Arati. So most of you will be familiar. Na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam nema vidyuto bhanti kutoyam agnihi tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. So none of the luminaries, like the sun, moon, and the stars and everything, they don't have a shine on their own, of their own. The Atma shines first, and in that shine, all else. Tameva Bantam Anubhati Sarvam. Everything else shines after that, following that, using that light. Tasya Bhasa, from your light, Sarvam Idam Vibhati. The rest shine. So, Atma lends its consciousness to the mind, and now the mind becomes sentient, and the mind is then able to lend that borrowed consciousness to the sense organs, and it goes to the body and everything. Everything is known means I am conscious of everything. That means everything is pervaded by consciousness. I am conscious of them. Therefore, Vishwam idam prakashayan. It illumines the whole world. Continuing, verse 133. Jnata manoham kriti vikriyanam nam. Jnata manoham kriti vikriyanam. Dehendriya prana krita kriyanam. Dehendriya prana krita kriyanam. Ayogni अनुवर्तमानो अयोग्निवत्तान् अनुवर्तमानो न चेष्टते नो विकरोति किंचन न चेष्टते न विकरोति किंचन ज्ञाता मनोहं कृति विक्रियाणां देहेन्द्रिय प्राणकृत क्रियाणाम् अयोग्निवत्तान् अनुवर्तमानो न चेष्टते नो विकरोति किंचन. How does this Atma illumine everything? That is being explained in this verse. The Atma, Jnata, is the illuminator of the following things. What all does it illumine? A list is given. When I say Atma illumines, you should remember, we are using a verb. To illumine is a verb. And what does a verb normally indicate? It indicates an action. So that should not be taken here. I told you this before, but just to refresh, a verb indicates the action, some modification, and impermanence. It indicates the actor is exercising some wish, some willpower to do. An action has all this. A verb, any verb, indicates an action. Actions mean modification, impermanence, all this. It'll start at some time, it will end. All this, wish, will, all this is necessary for an action. On the other hand, when you say Atma illumines, even though we are using a verb, illumine, you should not extend all that. Because Atma's illumination, it is not an action. It does not involve any modification, and it is not an impermanent function. It doesn't start at a time, it doesn't end at any time. But still, we have to compromise and use a word. So we're using the word illumine. So what exactly it means is, in the presence of Atma, everything gets to be known. Everything is illumined. That's the idea. It's like in the presence of sun, everything on the earth is illumined. The sun doesn't get up in the morning. I got work to do. I need to illumine the whole world. So let me get going. The sun doesn't do anything. It's there, wherever it is. And as the earth rotates and whatever portion of the earth comes in its direction, it gets illumined there. That's all. Now, once we understand the illumination of Atma, let us see what all the things does it illumine. Manaha, ahankriti, vikriyanam. This Atma illumines the modifications of the mind, manaha. Ahankriti, ego. When the mind and ego go through various changes, it can be happiness, unhappiness, tension, calmness, in all this. I'm happy, I'm unhappy, I'm tense, I'm calm. I become subject to change. That ahankara goes through all that. Not only that, deha, indriya, prana, kritakriyanam. It also illumines all the functions performed by deha, body, indriyas, and prana, the body, sense organs, pranas, everything. It illumines. Atma illumines all the functions by pervading them. Illumination that requires this permeation. The light illumines the book. What do you mean? It means it pervades the book, completely covers the book, the light. Without the light pervading the book cannot be illumined. Therefore, Atma illumines all organs by pervading them. Here Shankaracharya gives a beautiful example. Ayaha agnivat tan anuvartamanaha. Ayaha, ayas means iron. Agnihi, fire. Suppose we heat a piece of iron and it becomes red hot iron piece. There are two things. One is the iron piece and the other is the fire principle. The fire principle does not have a shape of its own. The iron has its own shape. It can be an iron rod, it can be an iron ball, it can be a horseshoe, whatever, different shapes. The blacksmith is working, shaping that iron piece, the red hot iron piece, and converting it to various shapes. As even the shape of these iron pieces are changing, the fire pervading the iron also appears to take that shape. Actually, there is no change of form to the fire principle. All that shape belongs to the iron. Now, the consciousness is like the fire principle. The body is like the iron piece. When the body is a baby body, consciousness also seems to be the size of that baby. As the body grows, consciousness seems to grow. Even though for appearance, the consciousness seems to assume and change the shape, the fact is, it doesn't have a shape of its own. Therefore, he says, Ayaha Agnivat, just as fire seemingly anuvartamanaha assumes the shape of the iron piece, similarly, consciousness also imitates the shape of the body as it were. The body is tall, consciousness also appears to be tall. That is what we call anuvartate. Consciousness follows the shape of the body. Really speaking, consciousness does not have any shape. What is the real nature then? Na cheshtate. It does not do any action, does not undergo any modification. Kinchana no vikaroti. Nor does it modify any other object. Neither it modifies itself, nor does it cause modification in others. It is neither a karta nor a karayita. We have come across these terms elsewhere. Karta, not a doer. Not a karta, not a doer. Karayita, it doesn't make anybody do anything, doesn't change anything, causes any change. All the time, it appears to change. It also appears to cause changes, but it does not. Continuing, verse 134, you will recognize the theme in this verse very easily. न जायते नो म्रियते न वर्धते न जायते नो म्रियते न वर्धते न क्षीयते नो विकरोति नित्यः न क्षीयते नो विकरोति नित्यः विलीयमानेऽपि वपुष्यमुष्मिन् विलीयमानेऽपि वपुष्यमुष्मिन् न लीयते स्वयं न लीयते कुम्भ इवाम्बरं स्वयं न जायते नो म्रियते न वर्धते न क्षीयते नो विकरोति नित्यः विलीयमानेऽपि वपुष्यमुष्मिन् न लीयते कुम्भ इवाम्बरं स्वयं. So in the previous verse, we talked about three features of Atma. One is Atma is the witness of everything. The word jnata was used. Jnata means sakshi, witness. Then number two, na cheshtate, which means na karta, it is not the doer. Na karayita, nor does it make others do anything. Neither does it do anything, nor does it make anyone or anything do anything. Finally, na vikaroti. In this shloka, Shankaracharya points out that Atma is nirvikaraha. Atma is free from all changes, free from all modifications. We have seen before that modification, especially with regard to the physical body, is classified into 6 stages. Shadvikara. I mentioned it so many times. Most of you will be familiar. Asti, it's a potential existence. Jayate, birth. Vardhate, growth. Viparinamate, some changes, modifications. Apakshiyate, decline. And vinashyati, death. So there are 6 modifications of the body experienced by everyone. So here Shankaracharya points out that the consciousness is free from all these 6 modifications. And the verse, as I mentioned, closely follow the Kathopanishad mantra and Gita shloka also. Na jayate mriyate va kadachit, and so on. Na jayate, no mriyate. No birth, no death. Na vardate, na kshiyate. No growth, no decline. No vikaroti, does not undergo any transformation when the body changes. There are 5 modifications are mentioned here, and the first one, asti, is not mentioned, so you can include that. All these 6 modifications are not there for the Atma. So that means, according to Shastra, consciousness is not a property of the body. If it's a property of the body, naturally when the body changes, then consciousness would have to change. It has to go along with the body. So the very fact that Shastra says consciousness does not perish indicates that it is an independent entity and it pervades the body. So it does not have any of the 6-fold modifications. The Shat Vikaras are not there. So it is Nityaha, eternal. So this is the most important and unique contribution of Vedantic teaching. Separating consciousness from matter. Showing that consciousness is neither bound by time nor by space. Identifying this consciousness, the time-space beyond consciousness, is the ultimate truth of the universe. This is the most unique teaching of Vedanta. That alone Shankaracharya presents here as Nityaha. It is eternal. Then how come we talk about the death of the jiva? If you say Atma is eternal, then the Jivatma, Atma means Jivatma. If the Jiva is eternal, how do we talk about the death of Jiva, the birth of the Jiva, the travel of the Jiva, the Shraddha for Jiva, the Tarpanas you make for the Jiva, do for the Jiva? How do we talk about all these things? And Bhashyakara says, all these are aberrations born out of ignorance. He says, Amushmin Vapushi, Viliyamane api, even when this body disintegrates. Vapu. Vapuhu means the body, the physical body. When this physical body disintegrates, na viliyate, the consciousness does not disintegrate. Therefore, when the medium disappears, consciousness does not have a medium to express, that's all. The non-expressing consciousness is mistaken to be a non-existent consciousness. That consciousness does not have a medium to express itself. That's all. So consciousness does not become non-existent. Na liyate, does not die, does not disintegrate. He gives an example, again a familiar example, we have seen it many times. Kumbe ambaram iva. Like part space. Kumbha part. Ambaram space. Kumbhe ambaram iva. The space which is conditioned within a part, it's a functional space. It's a useful space because you can put water in that part, whatever you can do. Space as such may not have any use, but it is when it is limited as a part space, it's useful as a container. When you say a container is useful, you know what is useful. It is not the container that is useful. It is a contained space that becomes useful. Similarly, here also, the body-mind enclosed consciousness is a functional, expressive consciousness. The unenclosed, unconditioned consciousness is non-expressive, non-functional. And sometimes you mistake it to be non-existent. Therefore, kumbhe viliyamane ambharam na viliyate. When the part disintegrates, the part space does not disintegrate. When the part-like body disintegrates, the space-like consciousness does not disintegrate. Swayam, that itself does not get destroyed. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.